It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
How about real estate? Because there's a lot of content out there about real estate being that path to passive income.
And I think all of us have fallen prey to this. At some point in our financial journey, we've talked to someone or we've heard someone say, we've read something that real estate is the key to mailbox money. And if you don't believe us, just listen to this young lady.
Hey, can I show you how I'm going to stop working in 5 years? I love working in real estate, but I also love not having to work. So I saved $30,000 to go buy myself a triplex. This is step one. I'm going to buy a triplex for $30,000 down. Total rent would be $6,000, but I'm going to live in one of the units, so I'm going to make $4,000 in rental income monthly. Mortgage is going to be around $3,200, so I'm making $800 a month for living in this house. Gonna live there for a year, then move out and go buy a fourplex for maybe $800,000, about $40,000 down. This is gonna rent for $6,000 fully, still got that mortgage. I'll get more rent on the fourplex, this is the mortgage, live in that one for a year, then keep going down for 3 more years. By the end of 5 years, I'll have 5 houses. These are all estimated numbers, but it's gonna be total $40,000 rental income per month. Cash flowing $16,000 after all the mortgages are paid. Yes, we'll have repairs and all that stuff, but we're making $16,000 a month. That's pretty good.
By the way, this is one of my favorite things on TikTok is that people will, it's a kernel of truth in the fact that I'll do a deal, I'll make this much money, and then to make the deal seem really sexy and have sizzle, they'll multiply and say, I'll just do it over and over again. And then, you know, because like we did a show recently where we had to react, where we had a house flipper where he said, I made this much money on the first house I flipped. Next year, I'm going to do 25 of them. And you're like, what? You're going, it's just like, because here's the thing. The kernel of truth here is house hacking works. If you can find like a duplex, or she mentioned to start off with a triplex, and you live in half, and then you rent it out to people. The banks love that you're actually living in the property. They give you better underwriting. And she's assuming, I saw in there, a 5% down payment. That's the first aggressive thing. I didn't calculate back into what her interest rate was, but banks typically don't just give out money easily. They kind of count on you to be able to show that you have a lot of financial backing because they want the sure bet. A lot of times, I mean, I know when we've done commercial real estate and other things, even I've done vacation real estate, they want you to show you have something behind you. But let's just go with what she said. I think you could house hack. That's a great opportunity. But where this thing goes off the rails for me is you can repeat this success over and over because you go from triplex to quadplex, quadplex, and you keep repeating it, not thinking the bank is ever going to give you any pushback on all the leverage you're running, not giving you any pushback that they keep underwriting you as you're living on this, but yet you keep moving every year. That's a little bit aggressive on the assumptions. And then the fact of, I asked the team around here, because we have a lot of aspirational ready to buy houses, people on our team. I said, how many of you know about duplexes, triplexes, or quadplexes in the area? And they're like, I don't even know where those are. And that's the thing. So I think to say that you're going to be able to every year go buy these triplexes, quadplexes, and you're not going to be impacted by bank underwriting, interest rates, markets shooting up like we've experienced, it just seems like pie in the sky.
And I don't know if you've done very many real estate transactions before, but they're not incredibly swift. They're not like these fast moving things often. And also, she just kind of took for granted, you know, if I have a quadplex and I'm going to take up one of the units, I have to find 3 other people to go get in those units. And by the way, if I own all these properties and stuff goes wrong, I'm the responsible party for making sure stuff goes wrong. Brian, you and I own a commercial building, and we've learned firsthand that real estate ownership is not incredibly passive. When things go wrong, when there's stuff that needs to be fixed, or when there are things that need to be addressed, and you're the owner, it kind of falls on you. You've said you've had the same experience in the past when you've owned vacation properties or rental properties before.
Yeah, I mean, what was in the brochure was every year I was going to get a free vacation, go down there with my family, you know, have all these other people, use other people's money, OPM, to pay for this beach property I had. But what ended up happening was the only times I got to go down there was off season. And then I had to put anybody and everybody who'd go down with me to work because we were repainting. We were going to buy new mattresses. We were going to replace couches. We were going and buying mattress pads because people will steal anything and everything
Sure.
when you have a short-term rental. Because you put like a nice mattress pad because you want it to be waterproof, but you also want it to have some padding. If it's too nice, they take it. If you put nice pillows in your place, they take it.
Yep.
I mean, this is the type of stuff I experienced. It was far from passive, and it just didn't match the brochure because I found that every year that I was going down there, it was a lot of work. It wasn't relaxing. And then even commercial. I mean, we love being commercial real estate investors. There's nothing better than getting those monthly checks as they're coming in from all the tenants. But like this year, we have to put a roof on the building. That's over $200,000 that we're having to put in on the roof. We've already... The plumbing goes bad. I know you've done it. I've done it where you have to unfortunately go into a very gross situation with plunger. And because you own the building, there's nobody else
That's
that
right.
you can't, because you're not going to go hire a plumber to plunge a commode.
Nope.
You're going to go plunge the commode. And that's the type of stuff that you have to be very, that really moves the needle from unicorn passive income to all the way over to you are plunging poop out of the commode. That's the reality of how real estate works. And look, Daniel did some research and he put together how much time do you actually spend per unit?
Yeah, it's interesting. Those were our anecdotal stories, but when you look at the data from Real Property Management, when you look at per unit, how much an owner spends doing the activities required, it's about 47 and a half hours a year per unit leasing it, just making sure you have tenants in the property handling vacancies. Another 46 and a half hours on maintenance, fixing, that sort of thing, for a total of 94 hours per unit of ownership. So I want you to think back to the example we showed. The lady, she had a duplex, then a triplex, then a quadplex. You can see before too long, if you just add up this 2 hours a week roughly that each unit takes, all of a sudden you're working full time in a real estate business. Far, far, far from passive.
This is just keeping the property going. This 2 weeks out of the year. Once you add all the underwriting, because you remember she's trying to grow and buy more properties. So there will be, I know whenever I've dealt with banks, I mean, when you're going through underwriting, it is almost like a full-time job because you're convincing that bank and the underwriting department to lend you this sum of money.
Yep.
So you have to be on top of them. They challenge you on how organized your finances are, how fast you can react to them. All these things go into it. And then this isn't even getting into how do I get good tenants to make sure they stay good? And there's just a lot more going into this process than what was put out in the brochure.
And obviously, yeah, you can hire out a lot of these services. A lot of people in the comments are saying, yeah, but what about management companies? Sure, you can for sure do that. But now you're starting to eat into the reason you did this in the first place is because you're counting on this being a passive income of some degree. Well, once you have a management company come in, you're likely going to pay more for tenant placement. You might have markups on repairs. You have other costs that go into it. So you have to factor that into your P&L to make sure that this is indeed a viable opportunity.